Hello, BookTube, and we're here for week 2 of Spring into Adventure. And so far, we've got Mark at Book Time with Elvis, Debs at Rainer Reads. It's Rainer Reads a lot,
Stuff.
or stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
I always get that wrong. And Jim at Mystery and Mayhem.
Oh,
So,
luckily I've got the notification telling me you're live, Sean. That's
yeah,
nice.
and I'll have that as well, saying that I'm live on my own channel. If I wasn't quite, I wouldn't know without it. So, so are we going to talk about, I guess, what we've read this week, I suppose? So we'll go clockwise.
Okay, so now obviously, I'm sure we'll talk about it in a minute. I did read the the group read She by H. Rider Haggard, which I said we'll get to. And then in terms of other adventure, not so much. I was reading a few Historathon related things to do with Byzantium. I don't think I can get away with calling those adventure. And then I've started Augustus by John Williams, the guy who wrote Stoner, and I have to say that is excellent so far. But again, not really adventure related. So I think on the adventure front, well, okay, I did start. What's his name? Stephen Runciman's first volume of the Crusades, which I guess is adventure based nonfiction anyway. Hi, Alan, by the way. So, Jim.
I've been reading the group read She. I just finished it, like I told you guys this morning. I flipped and flopped on how I felt about it. Like it was a little slow going to begin with, and the last third of the book I actually really enjoyed. It was really good, and other than that, I really haven't been reading too much. I'm working on my next video, so I'm kind of trying to bone up on my myths like Gilgamesh and Theseus and all the ancient heroes and stuff. So yeah, but that's about it for my reading this week. Oh, and I started Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull by James Rollins, which I haven't got too far into yet, but I'm enjoying that so far.
Is that novelization or?
That's a novelization of the movie, and I already like it better than the movie. But that's it.
And then I took Mark up on his suggestion for something for No Place Like Rome, and downloaded Ruth Downey's Audible. What's he called? Russo.
Russo Medicus. Yeah, this one. Yeah.
Yes. Then the sort of mystery rather than adventure, but I've done
sure.
those. Group reading this at the moment, which is The Children of Ashenel. Vikings, that's got to be adventurous, even if it is non-fiction. And then I've got this one that I'm partway through that I am reading with Vin at Reverend Reads. This is particularly Viking women. She shouts a lot. I'm really sorry. And swears a lot too. I'll try and but that's pretty much it for my I'm also in the middle of Les Mis, which is another group read. But I've got
How are you getting on, Debs, with the Children of Ashenel? Because I read that maybe 2 years ago with Vin, actually.
Okay.
Marathon was a thing.
Yeah, I really like it. I think I've got to be 8 chapters in by Sunday when we're having a catch up. I've got a couple of chapters to go. I think I'm on just finished 6, but it's really interesting and quite odd in places as well with with the things that they discover.
Yeah,
really quite odd.
It's very, very interesting archaeological kind of book, isn't it? Though, with the
Yeah.
stuff that he finds and they talk about. So
Yeah, but it's all good. Are we talking about she in a minute then?
Yeah.
mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alan, what have you been reading this week?
Me?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm on my phone. I apologize for being late, you guys. I'm
It's
having
all right. You haven't spoken to Greg, have you? Because I don't know where he is.
Oh no, I haven't. I've been talking to Randy all morning, but not Greg. Yeah. I can text him or call him right now, but
I mean, I sent it to the group, but he hasn't looked at it yet, so I don't know. Maybe he's got his times wrong.
Could be.
I can give him a call because I enjoyed She is my first time reading it, and I have some notes on it, so I'm prepared. Evidently, my internet though they have me down as 2 accounts, both being active, so I can't seem to get on one. I don't know. Like my phone it's hassle. In America, it's called Xfinity. I don't know if Jim knows it, but
What's it called?
I've been Xfinity, Comcast.
Oh, I've heard of
I've been
Comcast.
Yeah, there's only 2. I've been with both of them here. They're both. I don't like either of them. It's kind of monopoly. But anyway, can't wait to talk about the book, you guys.
Okay. Well, I'll go.
Let me call Greg.
All right.
Yeah. There's a few comments here, and Andrew Helm is saying hi, and he finished reading She yesterday. Aaron saying evening chaps of both sexes.
Hi, Andrew and Aaron.
And Ariane Fowler finished She yesterday as well. And
Hi, Ariane.
And Aaron says that her neighbor, Deb's neighbors, they must be related to mine. The banshee next door and the dog.
If we had smell-o-vision, you'd be getting wafts of marijuana at this time.
Oh, God. Don't even go there. Yeah, I get the same here. Neighbors are hell. Neighbors are hell, honestly. Like every day, my living room smells like freaking pot.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I thought having a house, I wouldn't have the smells anymore, but occasionally and I don't smell that strongly anymore with the long COVID, but every so often I will get a whiff of cigarette smoke and other things that I'm in a house.
I'm going to put my mic on mute unless I'm speaking.
Alan seems like he's...
I think he's calling Greg, probably.
Deb can turn the volume up on her computer and we can all just start yelling.
Yeah.
And put her computer right up next to the wall.
It's kind of weird that everybody in the chat begins with A, though, isn't it? Aaron, Andrew, Ariane.
Yeah. Oh, synchronicities.
Yeah.
For what I read this week, I finished up Les Miserables early in the week, and then I read She, and the ugly Oxford World Classics book, and then I've started, and I'm almost halfway through. This is another horrible cover, but it's for my Patreon group, Patreon book club, The Mandelbaum Gate by Muriel Spark. It's set in 1961, 62 during the Eichmann trial in Israel, and it's got some archaeology, which is kind of neat because they mention places, even though it's in Israel, they go into Jordan as well. So it's kind of interesting. It's places that I've been there. I know that. I've actually excavated there.
Huh.
Did you see Mark Richardson's haul, Sean? I thought there might have been a few things that would interest you.
No, I haven't seen that yet. I want to, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, he had a couple of archaeological books he got.
It'll be interesting to see. So well, I guess we could start with She until Alan comes back. Alan and She. Well, I guess that could work. But yeah, it's if you're not familiar, it's was written. It was in 1884. Is it? Is that correct? I should have checked the date. Or is it 1885?
It is 1886.
Okay, I was wrong on both occasions.
Yeah, I think King Solomon's Mines was 84, 85. So
Okay.
Mine says 87.
Oh yeah, so that was the serialization maybe in 86 and then 87, the first edition.
I don't know. The Penguin just says first published 1886.
Yeah, that would have been in the serialization probably.
Well, there is a timeline. So 1886, 87, she is serialized in the graphic. And then in 1887, in volume format, she becomes an instant bestseller. Haggard publishes Jess and Alan Quatermain and ends legal practice and travels to Egypt. So.
Now, I know you said it in the graphic as in the magazine, but I'd really like to see this in graphic novel form.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think it was in Oh, you mean
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if they did. They've done the illustrated classics. They've done King Solomon's Mines
Have they?
in the illustrated classics series.
Yeah, because I remember the picture of, I forget her name, the wizened old Zulu witch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think I had that at one time because I used to have a few of the illustrated classics. And Ariane says, yeah, they would make a great graphic novel. Yeah.
You sure the Classics Illustrated didn't adapt She?
They might have, but they did. I know they did King Solomon's Mines for sure.
I think they might have done She, actually.
Let's have a look.
But I could be wrong.
I have to keep an eye out.
That would be the place where it would have first appeared if they did.
Mm.
Done, I would have thought. Oh, well. We got
Hello.
There he is.
I'm
Now-
sorry I'm late. I had a house guest that would not leave.
Oh. One of those, hey, Greg?
Well, you know, we had our kitten spayed on Wednesday. And she's supposed to spend time, alone. And the woman who came by was the one who gave us the kitten. But she was staying in the room with the kitten. And she left around 12:50, and then.
And you wanted to be polite and not be rude and leave her.
Right. And here's a question for everyone. It's a guest room. And I'm sleeping in the guest room. And for whatever reason, she got under the sheets today.
The guest or the cat?
The guest.
Oh.
The cat's fine.
She just got under the sheets.
Okay.
Hang on. Was she sleeping there earlier?
No.
So she
She
just
wasn't
got under the
sleeping there
sheet.
at all.
Well, Greg, our cat, you've seen our cat. He's big, but he likes to burrow under the blankets and the sheets.
I'm not. No problem with the cat. Just why did you get under the sheets on a bed that I'm using?
Well, he likes. Our cat just likes.
Get under the sheets of a bed in a house.
Hang on.
where she's
So
not staying.
So for whatever reason, as you said, you've been sleeping in the guest room.
Well, because we have a cat.
And then this woman,
Right.
got into your bed.
Yes.
I think we now know what. I think we now know, Greg, why you've been sleeping in the guest room.
No. I think she was cold or something. I don't know.
It's so random, though. That is so random. Why would
She
she
did
do
it
that?
yesterday too, because she keeps coming to our house and wanting to visit her cat or her ex-cat.
This is like a Larry David thing going on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And
All right. I'm
So
sorry.
were you in the bed?
No, I wasn't even in the room with her.
She just climbed in next to you.
hey, this lady's going to have to be careful because your wife is an FBI enforcer, and I wouldn't want to piss her off.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, sorry.
Weird.
I don't know. Domestic squall. I'm sorry I brought it up.
No, I
Oh, I'm not. I think it's funny.
Next episode of Greg and his guests.
And she wants to come back tonight.
Oh, jeez.
Maybe she's waiting till you get in the bed.
Maybe. I don't think so. I'm not getting in with her.
Right, it's just such, and it's all because you only know her because of the cat.
No, she's my wife. She's been friends with my wife for decades.
Oh, okay, okay.
But she just gave us.
She won't be if she keeps getting in your bed.
Whoa, I'm pissed because now I have to wash the sheets, and I washed them yesterday because she got in yesterday, and I was like,
First world problems.
"It is."
You need new guests.
Or maybe you need to put the cat somewhere else.
Maybe, but
Yeah.
then she just go wherever the cat is. I'm sorry. Let's get back to adventure.
Well, we were saying, Greg, before you came in, that she would make a great graphic novel. Thoughts?
Maybe.
And I was looking to see if it was a graphic novel or a comic adaptation, but I can't seem to find one.
There was a She Classic Illustrated edition, but I don't know if that's...
Okay. I seem to remember the cover of that. I think, yeah. I just can't find it here, but there was, Mark?
Well, unless it means it's like just an edition that was illustrated. I can't really see... They say issues... No, I don't know. It's hard to see. Where's Aaron? He's usually jumping on this stuff on the older.
I mean, when I looked up on the internet, for editions of She, a graphic novel did not come up.
It is strange that they haven't did it. Because like I say, they have done King Solomon's Mines, so you'd think it would only be natural to do She. Unless She is a little too salacious, they thought, maybe at that point. Which it's not.
Well, it is quite, though, isn't it? I mean, for the time, I was thinking when I was rereading it, I was thinking, it's quite, I mean, they don't leave much to the imagination.
Yeah.
Well,
But I mean,
the thing is I understand it, She was a virgin.
Yeah.
Wasn't
But
she?
she was naked quite a bit.
Yeah. But
And there were an awful lot of
I never
ejaculations.
got that. I think there was hints at actually necrophilia there as well.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She's doing a Rose for Emily sort of deal.
But a comic like Marvel or whoever did the Classics Illustrated could have totally glossed over that stuff and still adapted it. I mean, they do that all the time. They just leave that.
Why would they want to gloss over all the good stuff?
For kids, it's all about the children. Somebody's got to look at the children.
Yeah.
Let's
Heaven forbid.
with a couple of comments here because they're about the films, and I at least I can answer. I think some of that. Andrew Helm says he watched the 1965 Hammer film with Ursula Andress, Peter Cushing, and
Bernard Cribbins.
Bernard Cribbins, yeah. And it didn't put him off because it is very different. And then he's wondering how many film versions have there been made. Well, there were the most complete and the most accurate is the 1925 silent version. That's a British German version with Betty Blythe, and H. Rider Haggard wrote the intertitles for it before he died. It's the most accurate to the book. And then Marion C. Cooper for RKO made it in 1934-35, but he conflated most of the novels together, and it was very different.
Huh.
And then there was the 1965 version, the Hammer version, and again, it's very different. They don't go to West Africa. I forget now. It's either in the Middle East or again like in the even in the silent film, they go into Libya for some reason. They don't go into East Africa.
Weird.
But it is the closest to it. And then there was a TV one, I think, made in the 80s that I remember watching or partly watching, and it was just horrible. And then there's been spin-offs of a few of them, but there's really only 3 or 4 main ones.
Don't forget Carry On in the Jungle.
Yeah, but that's what I mean, spin-off type things that are related to it.
I guess Alan was watching one of them and he didn't finish watching it. Now he didn't say when it was because it was not good, or he just didn't want to spoil the book. Maybe
I think he's watching the Ursula Andress one.
Yeah.
was it?
I think that was it.
Yeah, and to me, she ruins it.
Yeah.
She just doesn't work.
I don't know. I mean, she was a hot woman in her days. She could have pulled it off.
Well,
Whereas
they're, like I always say, there's a reason why drag queens pick her, Sophia Loren, and Marilyn Monroe to use. I don't think she's anyway. That's a different thing, but I think she
The
ruined
thing is, of course, she has black hair, right? She's dark.
Yeah.
She's pale skin, but she's got jet black hair. So they should have gone with some actress who has black hair, probably.
The 1935 version is glorious to watch. They actually go to the north. They're in northern Siberia, so it's very different. But as I say, they conflate the other volumes.
You
But
know
it's
that
all Art Deco sets. If you like Art Deco, it's a feast for your eyes. These massive sets.
you know that movies very rarely follow the book, or the way the characters look in the book. It's whoever's hot at the moment.
Yeah.
Whatever celebrity's hot.
The silent one is pretty damn close.
Well, back in the day, yeah,
it's pretty damn close.
Yeah, but you said that Haggard was still alive, just about to probably have some input in that. So
yeah, that could be why. But again, we were talking about Les Miserables. The most complete and most accurate one is the silent one at the same time, the 6-hour version. So the silents really knew how to make films properly.
it got me thinking when you were talking about that, Sean, because you have problems reading like ebooks or tablets and screens.
Yeah.
But you watch silent films. Does that not affect you when you have to read the? Is it because it's big enough, or how does that work? Like,
well, it's big enough, and it's not sustained. Like I read it quickly, and then I don't have to focus on words.
Okay.
So yeah, 1935. But it's the problem with some of these older films. People put down dates of when it was made, and then if it was made like later in the year and it was released the following year, sometimes they put the date of the release.
Oh, yeah,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, there was a spin-off, and she didn't want to do it. I forget who took the place of Ursula Andress. Yeah, the 35 version. Yeah, it didn't have Job. They wanted a romance, like as usual. So they had a woman in there.
I really like Job.
yeah.
well, the thing is,
are we spoiling? Are we spoiling in our talk, or are we not in this live? I think we have to really, though, don't we?
Yeah.
Discussion.
I mean, I thought Job was doomed from the beginning. You knew he was going to bite the dust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The manner of his dying, I thought he would do a little more going
It
out.
was kind of like a bit of a namby-pamby way to die, really, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Just like
Scared to death.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But he did drop the plank, which set up a little bit more suspense for when they had to escape the
This is true.
Well, they corrected that in the silent version, if I remember right. You remember when they go across the plank, they got to come back, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
This is how he dies. He goes into the abyss.
Uh-huh.
That's a better way to die.
It is better.
Yeah.
It's a little better.
But
It would have made sense actually to kill him off on the way there, because when the thing falls, he might as well have died there. It didn't make much difference that he died.
He didn't do very
like
much
that he's inside the cavern.
falling.
I like the idea that he's inside the cavern because it's think of him. That's his crypt now. He's laying there beside she, and that's his tomb. And that's a little bit more creepy, a little bit more interesting than if he just fell down the abyss. In my opinion.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is too that this is not. I'm not spoiling the other stuff with this, but it was something that I originally thought when I watched this. Read this again, and I was thinking I could see why I thought this originally, because you remember when all this happens at the end, and they're all sort of passed out, and Job has died of fright, and Leo's passed out, and Holly's passed out. But Holly wakes up first before everybody else, and I sort of thought, he went into the flames, didn't he?
Well, yeah, that's one thing I wanted to ask is why do you think she reverted after the second
You
time
can only
she
do it
went?
once, and then it just reversed
Yeah.
it. It was reversal, yeah.
Yeah, you can't get it twice. And she made the mistake thinking she could double up on it, but no, it just if you had it in you, it would take it out of you.
But if you,
Well,
what
I
if
don't
she'd
think
rushed back in there though?
What's that?
What if she'd rushed back in there for a third time? Would she got it
Because-
back again?
Like she didn't really know what was happening at the point, and then by the time she maybe thought of it, it was too late.
Yeah, because it was on a cycle coming around.
Well, what would happen if they threw the body in there?
Well,
I don't know.
but that's the thing. Like I don't remember all the other books that much, but that's what we won't talk about the other books.
Okay.
Was she resurrected? Was she in another
We
book?
don't.
No,
I
but
mean,
we're not talking about it. We got to read it ourselves.
we can talk about it because none of us have read it, so we can kind of speculate.
I think Sean has read it.
Yeah, I've read it, but I don't remember fully. But I know she's not really dead. Let's just put it
Yeah,
that way.
because she's in the sequel.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
I think she's
But
reading
how that happens is something different.
I don't know. Can you just you have to excuse me for just a couple minutes?
Got a guest of you.
Your guest is fine. Leave her alone, Greg.
You're trying to get into the reading room. Yeah, I mean, what about Job? Because you'd think if she gets somehow resurrected and Job's with her, it'd be kind of cool if.
Yeah, I
Job-
don't think
Job
that's
was back
happened. But
too.
you see, the thing is, I when I first read this, before I read the others, I kind of thought that Holly sneaked in, and they're going to say that he actually sneaked into it while everybody else was out, but denied it, didn't say anything. And that was like I thought that could easily have been written in.
Well, would you have done that though after watching what happened to Aisha? You
Well,
know,
they
the horrific
do
thing.
realize that it was the reversal, or they think it was the reversal, but
They would
weren't
have been
100% sure.
they would have been guessing at that point. Like even he said in the story, he doesn't know if it runs in cycles. Like sometimes it'll do the destroy you, and other times it'll replenish you. Like they didn't even know. I mean, it was a guess. It might have been a reversal. It might have been something else that caused that.
I would have tried it.
Well, you see, the thing is, I would have tried it purely on the basis of the dangerous journey home.
Exactly.
I mean, she says when they cross the plank, I'll go first because it doesn't matter if I die because I can't die. And you think, well, they know they've got to go back. There's no plank. They might as well walk through the thing anyway.
Yeah. He talks about like he's at the end of his life anyway, Holly.
Yeah.
At 40, wrong side of 40.
Wrong side of 40.
Yeah.
That was the cat that just had the spay. I'm trying to make sure she doesn't run around too much.
Oh.
Yeah. So
But,
are you tempted to read the follow-up of the
I am.
stories now you've read that? I
was talking to Mark in the Voxer. I think I actually want to read King Solomon's Mines first because I never read that. And that's supposedly his best book.
Yeah, I haven't read that. I'd read She before, but it was 40 odd years ago. But I think that's the only book of his that I've read. So it'd be interesting to try some more.
Well, I got the Delphi edition.
Yeah.
$1.99 can't go wrong.
That's what I did.
There's some really interesting, like I guess we can come back to this, but I liked at the beginning. I remember when as a teenager when I read this, and it really thrilled me to see all this evidence. He's got this ostraca. He's got the the early Greek sort of language on it, and then he translates it, but translates into different languages, different forms, and I just love that. But then I remember too is that they put all that documentary evidence in to lend support to it. But then Hawley's talking while he's in the caves, and he realized, there's reliefs here, and the city. I can't write down the words for it. Why the hell did he draw it?
But Holly didn't write down the other stuff, did he? They were just.
No, it wasn't Holly. It was
there were copies of documents.
Yeah, I know, but it was in there. And why didn't he? Because they had translated it already. But the thing was, that why didn't he just draw the stuff or say that I can't draw either? You know, rather
did he
than
have-
saying my words don't do this. And
Did he have
If
a
they were
journal with
athletes,
him,
they
or
would have
did
taken a rubbing off them.
yeah,
Yeah,
I felt cheated. I felt cheated at not getting that kind of stuff.
But I'm wondering if he even had the material with him. Did he have a journal? Did he have the paper with him, or is
Well,
he
yeah, he had a
is he
journal.
writing the memoir after the fact? You
No,
know,
because he's writing what she dictates as the translation. That'd be hard to do from memory, wouldn't it?
But
Yeah,
this is
I
Sean.
didn't have a journal.
because all they had with them when they walked out was just the rifle and the clothes on their back,
And
Yeah.
they were wet.
and they were wet. And even all that was with the crew that was outside of the cave.
Mm.
You know,
There wasn't a specific mention of a journal, was there?
no. I got the impression he was writing all this down afterwards.
Yeah, I got that impression too. That he said he got back and
I always took it that he was journaling it as he went.
Which would make sense because that's what like Richard Francis Burton would have done. He carried his journal with him and he wrote it down as he went. He had to hide his notes when he was disguised as an Arab, you know. So I don't know, but it was never really mentioned. It was never really dealt with.
No.
Not specifically.
No, but a rubbing would have been perfect. We have some rubbings on our wall from the old knights' tombs. So I mean, if that would have been awesome. Something like that.
I think it would be wonderful if someone produced like a folio or something that had all
that,
the ephemera in it.
Or is it better? Is it better left to the imagination, Mark?
I don't know. I think it's just
That
kind of
kind
fun.
of
If you know, actually, some kids might enjoy it, like getting a book where they open up and there's all the documents and maps and papers.
Oh God, I would have
I'd
done.
lose them, of course, in 5 minutes. But you know,
right.
As a kid, I would have loved that.
Yeah.
I still would have loved that now.
But he does make a mistake.
Books
Doesn't
could do that, but
Yeah.
they tend to be expensive, and publishers, I guess,
he?
don't.
Yeah, but you can do a couple of special editions for these adventure books. So,
I
I mean, you saw the one I sent in the Voxer group. I mean,
Had a
that's
map.
an old one, and the map kind of pulls out. That was pretty cool.
Mm.
But he does make a mistake in the language thing because he refers to the English part as being Old English, but of course it isn't, is it? So
Did the Victorians distinguish between Old and Middle English?
that's what I don't know. I don't know, but
They have to. I mean,
Well, the other thing is too.
Chaucer, you know, it's not English.
yeah, but
Well,
for them, Old English might have just been
Not
It's not
considered
modern English, therefore it's Old English.
and maybe
Yeah,
Old
the
English
other-
had a different name.
The other
Yeah.
thing is he's supposed to be speaking Arabic to her, and she hasn't been in contact with anybody for 2,200 years. He would not have understood anything, and he would have had a better chance understanding the Greek that he spoke to her.
And yeah, he
But
even said
He
that.
mentioned
Not
that.
the
He
Arabic.
mentioned that in the beginning, like,
He
oh, it's
mentioned
not
that
exactly.
they mentioned that it was a little complicated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it
But
would be
it was-
impossible. It would be impossible for him because the Arabic of that time wasn't even Arabic. It was it would be as the same as somebody speaking Anglo-Saxon, Old English, and even worse than that for somebody today.
Well, it's the same thing with Tarzan. You got to suspend your disbelief. Like,
Oh, yeah.
he taught himself
You
English
do.
to read and
yeah.
write. You just,
Yeah.
for the sake of the story, you just got to go with it.
Well, because he
Oh,
says
yeah,
about
no,
the
I
Greek,
agree
he says
with that.
we only have modern Greek to go by as a guide.
Yeah.
And
Right.
you know, obviously they don't know how the ancient Greeks really sound. So he says it's quite difficult
Yeah.
for him to get the the tones and
Is-
stuff she uses.
Yeah,
Is it
but
possible-
at least he had the knowledge of the of ancient Greece. But yeah, it would be similar to somebody speaking Greek now to understand immediately ancient Greek. You're not going to be able to do that. It's that different.
Is
But
it?
it's still fine. Like you say, the suspension of disbelief.
Is it possible that another Arab-speaking person had been captured throughout within the 2,000 years that kind of updated her knowledge, and they kind of met in the middle?
No, I just think
Did they-
it's just part of the plot. He just put it. He knew
Oh,
enough.
no. Yeah. No. We're just kind of throwing things out there now, trying to explain it. But yeah. Suspend disbelief and go with it. But I'm trying to think, deal with what Sean said, and maybe it's possible that they did capture an Arab like maybe 1,000 years ago or 500 years ago, and she learned more of the modern updated Arabic from him.
I think they hot potted most of them, didn't they?
They hot-potted them. Yeah.
I'm never going to eat a hot pot again.
Can I?
I wanted a hot pot after reading that.
Can I read my favorite bit?
Sure.
Go on.
So, by the time that we'd struggled to our feet again, Aisha was standing among us and bidding us light the lamps, which fortunately remained uninjured, as also did the spare jar of oil. I got out my box of Brian to May wax matches, and they struck as merrily there in that awful place as they could have done in a London drawing room. In a couple of minutes, both the lamps were alight, and a curious scene was revealed. Now, isn't that a 19th century version of product placement, or what? I mean, it reads like an
Very
advertisement.
much so.
I got out my box of Brian to May wax matches, and they struck as merrily there in that awful place as they could have done in a London drawing room. I bet you he got a nice little bit of backhand.
The lightning keeps on ticking.
I think it just shows that.
Oh, we lost
Oh.
Greg. Greg, we lost you.
Well, while he comes back, let's look at a few comments here. Alan was saying, who must be obeyed, who cannot die.
I just noticed it again because now we've got Alex and Alan and Ariane and Andrew and Aaron.
Says, I have the omnibus edition of She and its sequel. On the strength of what I read, I've bought the other two books in the series.
Good job.
And then, like Alan saying that it spoils my argument, but again, it's not clear. Like I have always, that's the thing. But then once you point it out, then I'm going, they're not explicitly saying that he was writing in the journal. So, but and then Ariane says she got the impression it was written after.
Yeah.
And then Ariane, but the fact that he was dictating makes it seem like he wrote as things happen, and that's that's what you sort of expect. But there was no scene of saying, "Oh, he's writing in a journal. Oh, I got to put this down in my journal." There's none of that.
Yeah, but he's not going to do that, is he? If he's telling the story, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. I thought it was nonfiction at first. Well, that's the thing. What I was saying in the group, but you misunderstood what I was saying. Where like you've got 10 or 15 sort of points of a Lost World novel, which was popular in the late 19th century, and everyone pretty well after it. You could just tick off. It's you've got to have this. You've got to have this in it, and there's so many points of reference. One of those things is the documentation to make it real.
Reading the last third of the book, you get that. Like this is what all other Lost World adventure stories came from. Was this story?
Well, including of course the Lost World. There's even a bit in the Lost World where they have to walk across on that tree trunk thing before the dodgy people push it away. But then we were saying, weren't we, Jim, that Challenger's definitely based off Polly.
Yeah,
ugly, hairy, almost like a monkey.
A baboon.
Have you read Lost World, Greg?
I have.
I
have not. It's the only other Doyle I've read besides the Sherlock Holmes is the Lost World. Now there's apparently a few other Challenger books. Yeah.
I
don't know.
3? Is there 4 in total?
There's 4, but the last one's weird. It's all like spiritual. He's gone a bit potty by then.
Alex Day is saying like Chaucer. That's the middle. They were talking about Old English. Chaucer's Middle English.
He was writing Middle English, but he called it Old English.
Yeah. And it's the A team today. I'm not quite sure. Yeah.
Well, Ariane, Alan, Alex, Aaron, right. Andrew.
Yeah.
I tell you what I really liked about this. I like the idea that there was a civilization so old that even someone 2,000 years old thought it was old.
Right.
So the kingdom of Kor, that, and nobody else in the entire world knew about it. I like that.
Yeah, and that's the big thing of these kind of stories too. There's
Hmm.
always something that's old, like it's either the Hollow Earth type thing that there's civilizations in the Earth and all sorts of stories like that.
Mm.
My favorite jungle empress will always be La of Opar from Tarzan.
Yeah.
If you read The Return of Tarzan, Mark, which you said you were going to do, you will meet her.
That's the second one, yeah?
The second one, yeah. And then she's in the Jewels of Opar and other concurrent books as well. But you said you should read Return of Tarzan. At least read the first 5 if you don't want to read the rest of the series.
No, I will.
Yeah.
There were, I mean, I do a few highlighted things that I'm kind of going looking at, but there was a time which used the phrase, and I was trying to think where I'd heard it before, but I wondered if it was something he coined when Aisha's discussing different stuff, and she says, "Were I to show mercy to those wolves, your lives would not be safe among this people for a day. Thou knowest them not; they are tigers to lap blood, and even now they hunger for your lives. How thinkest thou that I rule this people? I have but a regiment of guards to do my bidding. Therefore, it's not by force. It is by terror. My empire is of the imagination." And I've heard that expression, empire of the imagination, before. And I, like, with regards to something else, and I remember it being quite interesting, but I can't for the life of me place it. And I wonder if it was actually a thing or not, or am I just out of it? But it's a nice phrase, isn't it? Empire of the imagination. I mean,
yeah.
maybe all empires to a degree are empires of the imagination. I mean, Britain wasn't technically numerically strong enough to control all the countries and peoples they controlled. So how much of that was just ruled by imagination?
Well, here's something that was told to me. We were doing a class on medieval literature, and they're talking about the lords of the castle and how they're supposed to be all powerful. And the guy says, "Don't believe that. If they got out of hand, the peasants would storm the castle and the lord would be killed because the peasants outnumbered the knights."
Well, I think what's his name? Ben Kingsley says it in the film Gandhi, doesn't he? He says, how do 100,000 Englishmen control 100 million Indians if those Indians refuse to cooperate? And it's the same thing. But I did think it interesting when Haggard's real bias of the of the working classes shows through when he's discussing about democracy. And I don't know if you read the footnotes where it talked about the reform bill that had passed, allowing more people to have the vote. And he says, the monarchs don't have any power. We're all at the mercy of the working classes or something like that. And I was thinking,
I did really enjoy the footnotes as well. I thought they were great.
Yeah. Now the thing is that those footnotes were written by Haggard.
Yeah.
And no, because I was thinking he's
not
trying.
all of them. Well, you have the footnotes and the notes. So you have ones by Haggard, ones by a supposed editor, which is Haggard, and then you have ones by Penguin or Oxford.
My Delphi doesn't have the only, but I thought that was kind of an interesting play, saying he's trying to pretend that this really is a memoir and not just a novel, and that's why you have the editing.
Sorry, go ahead.
I've seen that done a couple of times, but it's the earliest that I can think of. Or is that like the whole idea is like he's not the writer, he's just the editor. I mean, Edgar Rice Burroughs did it for.
That was kind of the fashion for Victorian fiction back in the day. It was a framing device. And that's kind of fallen out of favor now.
Didn't it start with the what's the Gothic Castle of Otranto? I think it is.
Otranto, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the first one that sort of did it. It's supposed to be like a medieval manuscript that was found. That was they always find these things,
I've got going back to the democracy thing that Mark was talking about. I've got a highlighted one here. I don't know if I share it with you guys in Voxer, but it's she talking about democracy. She says, she said, a democracy, then surely there is a tyrant, for I have long since seen that democracies, having no clear will of their own, in the end set up a tyrant and worship him. Now,
I
What do we
noticed
have
that. I don't think
these days that compares to that? Who compares to that today down in the States? Right? This was written, when did you say? 1860s, whenever it was, 1890s?
86.
And that perfectly describes the carrot top, the man who will not be named.
He is not a unique phenomenon.
No, unfortunately.
No.
Well, and also too, how did the civilization disappeared because it's basically a plague.
Yeah.
You know, that's thing. But it's the Victorian type of thing. Like, you do see the bias of the Victorians, that basically he's saying that they were the precursors of Egypt, the Egyptians, and other civilizations there, because there is this thing that, civilizations could not have grown out of Africa itself. It had to have been imported, and their will was, put on to the people.
You see, the bit I highlighted, Jim, was literally the section before that you highlighted, where she says, "But there is a strange thing," said Aisha in astonishment, "a queen whom her people love. Surely the world must have changed since I dwelt in Kor." Again, we explained that it was the character of monarchs that had changed, and that the one under whom we lived was venerated and beloved by all right-thinking people in her vast realms. Also, we told her that real power in our country rested in the hands of people, and that we were, in fact, ruled by the votes of the lower and least educated classes of the community.
Yeah. And then
Again,
it goes into that quote.
The lower and least educated classes are the majority, of course, right? So I suppose
the thing is that I know, at least initially in the United States, is that only propertied gentlemen could vote.
Oh yeah,
you couldn't be ruled by the
it was property, and then there was a certain level of income. But on this, it has a footnote attached to it, and it says Holly here expresses Haggard's disapproval of democracy, and particularly of the expansion of the franchise to many working class voters that had just occurred in 1884 when Parliament passed the third Reform Bill. So I found that really interesting.
I didn't get that footnote. There's some footnotes in this, but not those ones. Sorry, Sean. Sorry.
No, it's the kind of thing where democracy makes people think that they've got a say in things. That's the thing. You make you brainwash everybody to think, yeah, your vote actually matters. You are actually in charge, because if they actually do realize they're in charge, all these other people are in deep shit.
Well, in the United States,
you are.
I keep hearing this, people who support overturning elections. We don't live in a democracy. We live in a republic. Your vote, can be overturned because you're not really a democracy. And that's very popular with some segments of the United States right now.
I can remember going to see my grandmother once, and she was completely doolally by this stage and living in an old people's home. And she said, "We've been out on a trip today, and they'd loaded all these crazy old dears into a bus and taken them to vote."
Oh boy.
Let's got a lot of comments here.
Do you see that? I think that is true. I mean, I don't never like to sound like elitist or anything, but when you think about it, when you talk about popularism and all this, then it is, of course, the so-called mob. It is the for want of a better, his words, the lower and least educated classes that in the end do determine it if they are the majority. So it is a bit weird. I mean, we saw how we were at the mercy of this during Brexit, and I guess the American elections,
2016 election, yeah.
Sorry to get political, but there's some.
My brothers were sent voting cards once, and they both have Down syndrome. So my dad took them down and let them vote. And I think that one signed his name, and the other one just wrote V's everywhere. Because
what's the theory about Edgar Allan Poe, that he was kidnapped in the voting fraud thing they used to do back in the day? They'd get some drunk or homeless guy off the street, dress them up,
Oh yeah,
put them in to vote. Then they take them out and they dress them in a different outfit, take them back in again to vote again.
put him into vote.
And that's what they think might have happened to Poe, Edgar Allan Poe.
But there's a sort of saying that goes something like, the great thing about democracy is everybody has a vote, and the bad thing about democracy is everybody has a vote.
Everybody has a vote. Yeah.
Let's catch up on a few comments here. I'm getting way behind. Ariane is saying it does sound familiar. I think it's the one, the Empire of Imagination. And then Alan saying, what about the queen takes a husband till a female child is born, then the man is killed?
Well, I thought it was a great idea.
Well, it's sort of like the part where at the end of one chapter where he's talking about like the women have control, they do what they want, and then the whatever Billy Lee, or he's saying that, yeah, but after a few generations the women get a little uppity and then we kill off.
Yeah,
You kill them all.
And then they move on. They just move
They're in
on.
charge until we get tired of them. That's what he said, basically.
I like the way he said that he was quite sad about it, but he did have a more peaceful life since she'd gone.
I just loved how he kept calling Holly baboon. Oh, my baboon. Oh, my baboon.
Did he suggest that because like all her servants and everything were deaf mutes, did he suggest that they were bred that way?
She did. She
Yeah.
said,
So it's interesting. I wonder if it's, that Darwin, early kind of eugenics, social Darwinism coming in, that he's off the back of it. It's only, what is it? It's not like 20 years old, isn't it? Darwin's theory by this point. The idea that you could breed.
Yeah, probably.
Did he mention that, or did I kind of assumed that they were artificial deaf mutes? I don't know why.
Well,
she
the
had
thing
tried
is,
different types of.
She is like, she's 2,000 years old, and you kind of wonder, what has she been doing, waiting for her guy to come back? But she doesn't call everything she does magic. She says it's not magic, it's natural sciences, basically. And she's a chemist, and she does all this stuff. So she's genetically engineering these people as well.
Yeah. That chemist bit, it was just sort of dropped into a footnote that she had a lab somewhere.
Yeah.
And then we move on. Okay. I want to know more about the lab and what she's doing for the last 2,000 years.
What about the burning of the corpses bit? That was pretty horrific.
Yeah. Well, if you got a lot of corpses, they make good fuel, I guess, right?
Well, throw another body on the Barbie. Come on.
Because this is 1886 that he was writing, or 1885 that he was writing it, or 1886 that he's writing it.
I think he's writing like that, though, isn't he?
Yeah,
not like
that. but the embalming, it wasn't popular until about 20, 30 years before that. I think the actual embalming fluid was developed in sort of the first half of the 19th century, but didn't become popular until the 1860s or 70s. So
was he expanding on the Egyptians trying to preserve their dead?
Yeah, but injection. Yeah, that's the thing. But they didn't inject into the body. Like hers was like they replaced like it.
Except for the one who was just bathed in it, and the insides rotted while the outside stayed.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Which was weird.
When they were uncovering the bodies,
don't burn though, do they?
Huh?
The feet never burn. Did you notice that? It's like
no.
When Bilal says like that he was, because he was like attracted to that dead woman in the crypt, right?
Yeah.
And his mother burned the body, but he was able to rescue the feet. And when they were burning all the bodies as like torches, it says they burned down to their feet and then went out. The feet
kicked them out of the way and bought
a new really
one.
Epic foot fetishism going on there as well. I think.
I sort of got the impression as well. It was when they were uncovering the mummified bodies. It was a bit like seeing some of those Victorian photographs where they prop up their dead relatives and take pictures of them.
And that was the fashion right about then, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I know.
Yeah, we a few more comments here. Andrew is saying that it's like the footnotes in insights of Africa and the dark continents, ancient legends merged with fiction.
It's very true, actually, that, Andrew, because I think the whole, I don't know if anyone else is frustrated because like it takes place over 3 weeks and then he's like, you know, we returned to England basically 2 years later. We had all these amazing adventures in between, but I'm not going to tell you about.
Yeah, they were captured by some tribe, and they were being held prisoner for 2 weeks or something. Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
Like Bo Jest. It's like Bo Jest. Like,
Brilliant.
it's like they spend, what do they travel 2,000 miles back and forth across Africa, but it's like, oh, well, we're not going to tell you those stories.
Mm.
Well, that would have made the book really long. And he probably wanted to end the book.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know how much he's put in the other books. Yeah,
I have no idea.
Well,
I have a vague
there's
idea.
There's other adventures.
Is
For
that
the most part.
The Return of She was written in 1904, and I think it's set in 1904.
okay.
So it's like almost 20 years later. So
Holly will have legitimate complaint for being a bit older then, won't he? Because
and Leo will be pushing past that 40.
Yeah.
One of the novels, and I can't remember which one it is. It's another manuscript that Holly gets. Oh, no, sorry. Who gets it? Holly is dying. No, it's his friend. Yeah, Holly is dead. He's died, and he gets another manuscript. But
so he didn't sneakily sneak into the fire then.
But I wished he was, because I sort of thought that he could have done that. But there is something else that happens in that book that's a bit strange. But I think that's the story that they go east. They go east, I think.
My Delphi edition lists chronological order and publication order. And chronological order is Wisdom's Daughter, which is the last book written. Then comes The Return of She, which was the third book written.
You know, it's funny, and this is I always thought Alan Quartermain was a character in She.
I always thought so too.
He is in one.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a prequel. That's a prequel to this.
Okay, interesting. I always thought he just but
that wouldn't make sense though, does it? Because if it's a prequel, she would have mentioned to Holly the fact that she had met Alan Quartermain, probably.
Why?
Because she talks about how like she's never met like white guys she can talk to and stuff before.
Who knows?
Maybe but it's funny. I don't know why Haggard always makes his like leading men really ugly or unattractive. Because like Alan Quartermain is not, you know, there's not much to him as far as Haggard describes him and stuff. You know, he's not like Sean Connery or whoever, Stuart Granger.
Was that a trend in the Victorian to have the men not be ruggedly handsome but be sort of like?
I do feel sorry for Holly though, because he's reminded every few seconds. Like, I love you, my son, though you be really ugly. Like Aisha says, it could never happen because one, I'm waiting for my love, and two, you're really freaking ugly.
He's constantly criticizing himself too. He says, "Oh, well, you know, I'll never be this or that, and no woman's going to look at me, and I've resigned myself to the fact." You know, poor guy. And she was more engaged intellectually with him than she ever was with Leo. You know,
she kept calling my Holly.
Yeah.
More comments here. Genre books.
And he'd always go on about how vain and fickle women were. Did you guys get that? Talking about she and it's almost his little ideas about what womankind was like. You know, they're vain and they're fickle and they're, you know, but
we are.
But everybody is, though humans are. You know.
Let's try to catch up on a few comments here because I am getting even further behind. Aaron saying like Kipling and My Hero Lord Salisbury Haggard was suspicious of democracy as he saw it as a mob rule. It used to be the preserve reactionaries. Now it's the editorial line of the Guardian. Andrew says it's interesting that Horace Horse Holly states that Aisha is pronounced Asha.
Asha.
Aisha,
Yeah.
I got that. Yeah, I'll still say Aisha.
Yeah, me too.
But
I
I
can't
did
read
get
it
that.
as Asher.
Yeah.
I was just looking at the Aisha series. It says of number 2, Aisha, the Return of She. It says was serialized in Windsor Magazine, December 1904, and then published in 1905. It says where is it? Along with the other 3 novels in the series, Aisha, the Return of She is the final novel in the chronology.
Mhm.
And it's actually Aisha, the Return of She is the 1935 film version of She. As Aisha, the Return of She was adapted into the 1935 film.
They
She.
did use bits of the other one too. There are bits of everything in it though. That's the thing. But they did draw more heavily from it. Yeah.
Interesting.
I just saw John Roebuck's comment. That's quite funny. Ass hat. Great.
Jim, that use of the homeless was known as vote early, vote often.
Yeah, it was a whole
Joseph
scam
Lee,
back then.
I have been avoiding spoilers as much as possible to start. Would you recommend reading first King Solomon's Mines or She, or another book?
That's for Mark to answer.
I don't know. I mean, I only know what I did. I read King Solomon's Mines first, and I don't know if it's his most popular book. Whether it is his best book, you might like She better. I like King Solomon's Mines better.
Let's just say he wasn't perfect on chronology, like his own chronology.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that goes to the old thing: is how do you really read a series that was not written chronologically? The one I hear about the most is like the Hornblower series. Some people say you want to read it chronologically because I guess the first book he's like just a little ensign, but Forrester started when he was like a captain already, and then backfilled. And the way I hear it is that if you read it in publication order, you notice the discrepancies more, because he obviously changed his mind after writing a book and goes back and changes things. Say no, but who knows?
Well, I mean, the thing with King Solomon's Mines is like his first book, or at least his first like.
But it's like it's close to the end of the series.
Sorry,
it's close to the end of the series.
For sure. But again, I don't know if it really matters. I enjoy all of them, but as I say, the earlier books are more kind of based around the Zulu Wars or the Dutch war trekkers and this kind of stuff, which is great for me. I love all that kind of stuff, but it's a little bit more like the kind of historical fiction and perhaps like proper adventure, if that makes sense, right? So there's no quest, but you do see like you certainly can see similarities between King Solomon's Mines and She, for sure, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's almost like the beginning of King Solomon's Mines. Again, there's a meeting, 3 guys come together, there's a fragment of an old map or something like this, and of course they set out on an adventure. So he really does maybe repurpose it, but he's great at it, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. He had when he wrote King Solomon's Mines, he had no idea. Like he just, as we were saying, but not many people know,
it was Mark, you said it was a bet.
No idea. No idea that he was going to continue writing. So therefore, he's flying on the seat of his pants, and he goes, "Okay, that was successful." So when it comes to She, I got a formula here.
Yeah, well, he doesn't give up. He doesn't give up his day job until after he's published She.
Yeah.
So
So Mark, have you read his first 2 novels before King Solomon's Mine?
I've read almost all of them, but I don't know if I read the one or 2 immediately preceding King Solomon's
Mine. Right, yes, 2. At least on my Delphi edition. That begs the point. If King Solomon's Mine was done on a bet, his first 2 may not be adventure books.
Yeah, I mean, the Alan Quatermain series here Oh yeah, they have book one as King Solomon's Mines, but that's not. Yeah, that's not publication. That's not chronological order. Is it Alan's wife? Is the first one or Marie?
No. Wisdom's Daughter is, according to Delphi, the first chronological book,
Yeah. Okay.
which is like one of his last books he ever wrote.
Yeah.
But
Because I
that's
mean,
That's
he
not
does
connected though
backtrack.
to Alan, though, is it? Wisdom. So I'm not sure if I don't think I've read that one, but I didn't know that was connected at all with Alan.
No, I think
It's part of the Aisha
Aisha
series.
series.
yeah,
Yeah,
but King Solomon's Mines is a different series. It's
It's a
not.
different series.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's not the first of his novels in chronological order. It's the first in the Aisha series, not Alan.
There's
And then
one
the
book
problem
that's
is
a
that he-
crossover. You know,
Yeah.
Alan and She is a crossover between.
That's the problem. That's a bit of a problem. So where does that one fit in sometimes? But you could read all the Alan ones separately, and then the Aisha one separately.
Yeah. There's no connection with King Solomon's Mines and She, other than stylistically, I would say.
I've got 4 novels in the Aisha series, and there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in the Alan Quartermain series. And She and Alan comes like third last in the Alan Quartermain series.
Yeah, but is that publication or chronologically?
Oh, I don't know. I'm looking on the Delphi table of contents.
Because it can backtrack, yeah. Because I think he's like Alan Quartermain's not very young in King Solomon's Mines, is he?
No, it's
Well, I
the last,
think he's
one of the
older,
last
yeah.
ones in the series.
But when he goes back, he does like the story of his life from almost childhood through to his first kind of romantic involvement, his involvement with the Boers and the Zulus and this kind of stuff, which, as I said, and then of course his hunting, because he's a great game hunter. This is one thing I find hard, right? I don't like any animal stuff in books, right? But it is problematic that in Haggard's books, the character's always blasting animals out of the sky or whatever it is. And the worst thing is always like, oh, it looks extremely rare. And then you find out it's like the last one.
Don't get me going on big game hunting, because that's just like, it's just.
Yeah, it's an awful.
Well, unfortunately, there's a lot of that in Alan Quartermain, because that's kind of what he does. But you can kind of almost put it in a fantasy because it's so long ago.
Well, you could almost excuse it back then, but you can, in this day and age, you can't excuse that kind of thing.
Yeah. I
And
struggle
what
with
I
Hemingway
would say
for the
about
same
reading,
reason.
any of this stuff is because he wrote it on such a long period. It really doesn't matter too much what order you read it in, because there isn't H1 does, because he interlinks the series. Like, people will say, okay, I'll read up to She and Alan, then I'll start with She, and it's like, it doesn't matter. You can basically jump in anywhere.
Really.
Stories are self-contained. Except some of his, like the Zulu trilogy, and there's a few others. Like there's a couple. Actually, there's only 2 She's that are really that you would want to read back to back. And there's, I think it's the sequel to She. Is that the last book, I think, because I think the last book that he wrote in the series is the one with the new manuscript. And I think that's the one that's closely connected with She, if I remember right.
Yeah. I mean, I would recommend things like his Zulu books are good, because he does like 2. Again, though, they actually cross over as well. Looking at them here, so it is kind of confusing. So, like things called the Umslopogaas series cuts across to the Quartermain series, as do some of the Zulu Nation books. But I would recommend maybe some of the standalones, like Cleopatra's. I think definitely worth reading, as is People of the Mist.
The thing with like the Alan Quartermain, because you mentioned 12, you could actually, if you add in everything else, there's over 20 that are intermingled, I think.
Oh, right.
Over 20.
Okay, these stories, they've got them listed in like the order, like chronological order, not in publication order.
No, but I mean, but like Mark said, that there's other series that infringe on this, and I think even Cleopatra has references to other stuff as well. So people throw this stuff together and try to make a chronology out of it, and you can't.
No.
You can't make a big chronology out of it.
Yeah, you can pretty much read them all. I think there's, I don't think there's too many things we have to worry about him. Missing stuff out if you read through them.
Yeah, that, like I said, that's sort of like when I do this, I kind of prefer publication order, because then you're really not missing out, because it's how the author created it.
Yeah. If you go to the Conan series, and Sprague de Camp tried to put it in chronological order, the Conan stories, and then he had to add little bits here and there to make it make sense, and it just, it's not good. You want to read it the way it was written, the way Robert E. Howard intended it, like he, somebody telling the story over your shoulder and you're writing it down, and just it makes more sense and it reads better that way. Using that as an example. And you can't fix it up after the fact and try to make it chronological and make it fit and make sense.
You've got 56 novels, 3 short story collections, and 10 works of nonfiction if you want to read through his whole works. So
I don't have my Kindle. It's up. Oh, is my Kindle over there? Hold on. I think my Kindle's over there.
Well, that's according to Wikipedia, because I don't have it in front of me either.
I like how the Delphi editions add autobiographies to these.
Yes, I like that, and some of them have letters as well.
Yeah, I think that's
interesting.
He wrote a few history books as well. Are they in the Delphi? I can't remember.
Yeah. There's Schweio and others. There's a few of his in there.
There are a few that are not in Delphi, and they mention it because they're not out of copyright yet.
Well, I suppose maybe who owns it, but the
everything should be now, because it's he died in 1925, so everything should be in copyright.
Yeah, but Delphi maybe haven't updated it since.
They may not have updated it.
Yeah, I quite like the fact that they update them free of charge.
Yeah, I think that's
I got mine from Amazon, so I don't know if Amazon updates, but I just bought this last month, a couple of weeks ago. That's the most current one we have available.
Yeah,
How's my neighbor noise level? Are you still hearing them?
It's all right.
I hear someone's kids yelling, but
it's not bad.
It's
not bad. I can hear them, but it's not bad.
Okay.
You would like Sean in the Edgar Wallace Delphi. There's a huge amount of his reporting and stuff from the Boer War. Loads of articles and things. Really interesting.
I quite like it in some of those editions as well, where they've got critiques of some of the works that are in the editions. They're quite interesting.
Yeah.
I just wish that I could read the stuff properly. That's
now,
the thing. I
John,
can only read a little bit at a time.
Have you tried e-ink and not a tablet?
Yeah, it's worse. Like I do have a Kindle White or whatever it is, and it's worse because it shimmers. It's rough around the edge. It's worse.
Really, I find the text on these absolutely amazing.
Yeah, but the best way that I find is the tablet, turning down the brightness, turning the background to black, and having the letters white, and actually do it at nighttime without lights on. That's the easiest way for my eyes.
On the paper one, you do turn the backlight off, right? Because otherwise, if you do that, then it's like reading off paper.
It's just it shimmers. Like when you go to the next page, it sort of jumps and it shimmers, and it's like when I look at the lettering, I see jagged edges around it, and when that moves, I have to look away to.
I think it might just be your Kindle, Sean.
It could be. I don't know. I don't have another one to compare it to. So.
When I read mine, it's like the changing the pages does not bother me.
I never know.
No, me neither.
Yeah.
I've only read the one book on my tablet, and I had no problems like that. The page turning was awesome, and I had the dark theme on like you do, Sean, and I was reading in bed last night. It was, I had no problems.
Yeah, it just after a while, it's even like I when I'm reading a book too, I have to stop reading after a little while and look up and look around and stuff like that. But
you should do that.
I have, but I have with tablet or anything like that. It's more often I got to do it. Like every
you've got to look up and focus on something far away, like you know, and just take a minute or two, focus on something far away, and that helps your eyes.
Yeah,
you know,
and to do that with a tablet, I can get through maybe 5 or 6 pages, and it'll take me an hour to do that because I got to do it that frequently.
20 is what they say. Every 20 minutes, you should spend 20 seconds looking at something 20 meters away.
That's it exactly. Yeah.
And then after those 5 or 6 pages, I can't read anything. My eyesight's all blurry. I've got a headache, and it takes hours for it to clear up.
Oh boy, that's awful.
That's awful. That's why I like when I do read it. I've got to dedicate time, and I only have a few hours a day that because of the long COVID that I can actually read any length of time. So to do 5 or 6 pages, and then I'm ruined for the whole day because I don't have a very long to read. So that's why I don't use it. I use them for the searching thing because I've got some reference works that don't have indexes. So it's great for searching.
Yeah.
So what's next week? Is that watching something different medium?
I've actually finished my alternate form book already.
King Kong.
I'm saving mine.
I listened to the audio book of the novelization of King Kong.
Yeah, I've got it. Is it worth it?
I think it is. I mean, the novel itself it's just an ordinary novelization.
Is it narrated by the monkey?
No, it's the narrator is actually really Stephen Rudnicki is a really good audiobook narrator. But one of the best things he did, because he as a narrator, he also produced this book. He got together some classic people to talk about King Kong. They got Ray Harryhausen to talk about his stop motion animation. I mean, he did not work on King Kong, but he learned from the people who did do King Kong.
Yeah.
They got Harlan Ellison. They got Orson Scott Card, who hates King Kong, and he hates stop motion animation. And they got another woman, Catherine, and Ray Bradbury. And it's in their voices. You get to hear them talk. All of them, except for Orson Scott Card, love King Kong. Orson Scott Card said, I couldn't care less.
No,
Jim, you'll appreciate this, Jim. I got Tarzan versus King Kong, or vice versa, King Kong versus Tarzan.
Oh.
So that should be fun.
Really? What is this? A book or a comic? What is that?
A book.
Really?
A novelization. Yeah.
Oh God, I've never heard of that. Why have I never heard of that?
It sounds like one you're going to have to investigate.
Unless you got me thinking now. I dreamt it. I'm pretty sure I downloaded it.
I gotta look for that one.
I'll send you the info after.
What's it called out? What's it called, Mark?
It's like King Kong versus Tarzan, or Tarzan versus King Kong, one of the two.
I know in the comics there was one where he crossed over with the Planet of the Apes, which was interesting. But Tarzan versus King Kong.
I think King Kong would win.
I have some novelizations like they were illegal, illegal ones by some author called Barton Werper, and they're not very good, but I'm happy to have them. And he went up against the Abominable Snowman, and he went up against aliens and that kind of thing. So they're a lot of fun.
This
King Kong versus Tarzan by Will Murray.
Oh, Will Murray, yeah. He's been doing a lot of Tarzan adaptations, like his own new novelizations of the character Will Murray.
That's a long book. It's like almost 500 pages.
Yeah.
I've got a couple where he takes Tarzan back to the Earth's core, and back to the not Pellucidar, but the Palaldon, the lost area in Africa where there's dinosaurs, and yeah, okay, that makes sense.
I love the At Their Core books. I love those.
Oh, they're my favorite, Sean. Honestly, Tarzan of the Earth's core is one of my favorite novels. That's cool, Mark. I'm gonna look for that. Damn it.
I want to say, Sean, by the way, when it seems like everyone's talking over you, it's because your microphone, I think, is quieter than everybody else's, at least from my side. I don't know if you hear that. Maybe a little bit. It's a little bit quieter. So I noticed a couple of times you're going to speak, and then I'm like, oh, what? So.
But I agree with you, Sean, about the Earth's core novels. Like I said, like Tarzan of the Earth's core, I love that. I love that whole premise of the hollow planet, and there's a moon and a sun inside the planet, you know, and I remember in the Earth's core novels, and they're looking up at the moon inside the hollow Earth, and they can see people on this little moon. And Edgar Rice Burroughs never dealt with that in any of his stories. I think maybe he meant to, but he never did. But I think maybe Will Murray or somebody else did deal with these people on the moon inside the interior, inside Pellucidar. Just fascinating. I love those stories.
I can hear your cat meowing there, Greg.
Yeah, she doesn't like to be left alone. She wants to play with the other cats, but the problem is the vet says you cannot let the cats wrestle, especially after a spay. She's supposed to keep quiet and calm, and she's full of high octane kitten juice.
So
I quite like the book you mentioned, Greg. I'm curious about that one, The Descent.
The Descent by Jeff Long. I want to reread that again. It brings up a question of next month, do we want to do a group read, and what book do we want to group read?
That's the thing. I think Jim and I and maybe Sean are thinking anyway of doing The Terror.
Yeah, I've ordered it. I got a cheap copy, so it should be here in a week or so.
Oh, I don't have a copy. I've seen it.
But it's 780 pages long in hardcover.
Yeah. So Mark, you're going to watch The Man Who Would Be King this next week?
I don't know if I can find it.
Yeah, I'm going to try to watch it if I can find it, and I've got the novelization here too.
Novelization?
Oh, it's novelization.
By Michael Hardwick. Michael Hardwick did the novelization.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then I've got the Rudyard Kipling one too, but with the movie cover on it.
Yeah, I listened to the short story in the Big Book of Adventure 2 weeks ago.
Love it. I want to watch the movie. I'm going to look for it and see if I can. I watched it ages ago, but I'd like to watch it again.
Yeah, my backup is Mountains to the Moon. So
yeah. Greg keeps recommending that, and I got to find that, and I got to watch the movie and get the book, and yeah.
I got the 1950 Treasure Island as well, so one of those. I might watch one of those as a backup.
I've got like 5 copies of Treasure Island.
I love Treasure Island.
Me too.
No, I would reread Treasure Island if you want to go for an easy. I mean, I was also suggesting Flashman, but I don't know if that's getting a lot of.
I meant the film, sorry, not the book.
Oh, you're. Oh, yeah. Okay.
When you said the alternative form, my first choice is Man Who Would Be King if I can find it.
I see.
But I have Mountains of the Moon and I have Treasure Island as backups. But no, we don't need to read Treasure Island again. I think Flashman. I'm down for all the ones. Oh, that's cool. I'm down for all the ones everybody mentioned. I might. Yeah, I haven't got much on my TBR for May, so I might take all of them.
Be with any of them as well.
Maybe we could do Treasure Island as a group read.
Aww.
No,
I mean I love that book, but I read it.
Got other stuff to read, yeah.
You know.
Okay.
One of my favorites.
The Terror is a long one, and I don't have a copy of it.
Well, look, if everybody's reading Treasure Island, I'll read it, of course, yeah. But it wouldn't be my first pick just because I probably read it only about 6 months ago for the last time anyway. But I don't mind.
Yeah, I read it.
Yeah.
I read it 2 weeks ago as a preview to Spring to Adventure.
What's that one you have, Deb, in your hand? What's that?
High Wind in Jamaica.
Richard Hughes.
Richard Hughes.
And what's that about?
This is about kids who are being sent home from Jamaica because their parents think they're running wild and they need to go to school, and they're captured by pirates. The 1965 film starred Anthony Quinn as the captain of the pirates. And I found it on YouTube in its entirety this morning. I'm very pleased.
Wow.
Yeah. It's also got Martin Amis in it.
The author?
Yeah.
Really?
In a movie?
In a movie from 1965.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's odd.
I don't remember that because I mean it's a bit of nostalgia. I loved this film when I was a kid. And I like pirates very much.
Me too.
Obviously then I didn't realize that Martin Amis was in it.
What is Martin Amis doing in a movie?
He's a kid in it as well, isn't he?
You're sure it's the writer Martin Amis and not just somebody else called Martin Amis?
He's a child in it, surely.
He is. Let's have a look on IMDb. I'll see how old he is. So have you not seen it, any of you?
No, Anthony Quinn is a pirate. That's perfect.
Oh, he's brilliant.
Yeah.
He's brilliant as a pirate. High Wind in Jamaica. Right. So it was 1965. I don't know how old Martin Amis would have been then.
Well, he died recently, didn't he? So
James Coburn's in it as well.
James Coburn. Cool. Okay.
65. He was 16, Martin Amis, when he was in it.
Was he?
Yeah.
So I guess he started his career in acting instead of writing?
I don't know. I was really surprised when I saw him on the cast list. But yeah, I don't remember him at all. So like I say, I probably didn't even know who he was when I first started watching this film, which was many years ago. But it was a sort of thing that they'd have on as the family movie on television on a Sunday at 2:00, you know. So after your Sunday lunch, you'd all sit down on the sofa and watch a family film.
Yeah.
So, but I was very impressed to find out.
Here you go. In 1965, at the age of 15, Amos played John Thornton in the film version of Richard Hughes as a High Wind in Jamaica. At 5'6", he referred to himself as a short ass while a teenager. His father said blah, blah, blah. Okay, doesn't say any more about how he got into it. But yeah, so there you go.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever read Michael Crichton, Pirate Latitudes, I think was the name of that novel?
Oh, I haven't read that, but I've read some.
That was a really good book. I like Michael Crichton. And speaking of pirates, that was a good pirate yarn, that one.
Yeah, I do like a good pirate yarn.
You should read Pirates by George MacDonald Fraser.
Yeah?
Is that a good one?
Huh?
Is that a good one, Mark?
I don't know if good's the word. It's funny. It's a mick take for sure. It's like a parody. It's a bit like that. What was that terrible film?
Yellowbeard.
Yeah.
Wow.
Better, but it's got like some jokes in it and like some bit of modern stuff thrown in. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun.
I don't like my pirates with a sense of humor.
Yeah. Yeah. But I was thinking I could. Sorry, you see, this is the problem, Sean. As I said, it's too quiet. Go on. Sorry.
There's nothing I can do about it.
No, I know, but like.
I am speaking at the top of. I can't speak any louder.
But it makes you feel like I'm being really rude because every time I'm talking over you, I was like, okay, right, go.
I just put it up on the thing. It's just,
that's what you're doing. Okay, right. But I was thinking alternative form adventure. I could actually listen to some opera.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That could work.
Yeah, the Ring of the Nibelung.
Yeah. Or I wonder if I could get away with Gilbert and Sullivan Pirates of Penzance.
Oh.
Possibly.
Bit of adventure in that.
It's all
if you talk about the Nibelungen, you could watch the Fritz Lang Silence Nebelingen, which is 4.5 hours long.
Only?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say it's 48 hours long. The whole ring cycle.
No, that's just the ring, the introduction to the whatever.
There's 2 comic adaptations of it. There's one that does a straight adaptation of it. And then there's one where it was the Marvel's Thor character, and he was a Sigurd character, and they adapted that into the Thor comic book, the whole ring cycle. So yeah, I mean, comic books, that's an alternative form.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be watching Mountains of the Moon. I found that, and listening to some old time radio shows.
Nice. I love those.
Oh, I have a quick question for Mark too. You know, you did the review of the book The Wager, as I remember.
Yeah, that's good.
Would you call that an adventure book?
I mean, it's loosely defined, isn't it? I suppose I can't remember the original mission now of why they were sailing off that way. I think it was something to do with mucking up the Spanish or something. But yeah, I guess adventure. I mean, they get shipwrecked. They have to sort stuff out, and yeah, I guess
It's just that I'm gonna try to get an advance on the Book 2 prize nonfiction, and that's one of the ones I think will pass on to the next round.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
But I wasn't sure if I could really call that an adventure book.
Well, I'll be bumping this up. I got this today. It was gifted to me.
Cool.
And
Captain James Cook.
Yeah, the final fatal adventure of Captain James Cook, and the memorial and museum is just down the road here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's from that part of the world, so.
Any of you guys ever read Peter Benchley's The Island?
No, I haven't.
Modern day pirates? No. I'm on a pirate kick now. Sorry, I'm just like focused on pirates.
I like pirates.
Some great pirate books, and it's hard to think of pirate for whatever reason. They don't make it in the novels very often.
No, not many.
No. Oh, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That's like my favorite film of all time. One of them, anyway.
Is it?
Yeah, Raiders. I love it.
How does that work? The host? Oh no, the host is back.
Oh, there he is.
Well, I don't know.
Everybody wins.
He saw Raiders of the Lost Ark and he turned his camera off. He says, "I'm not going to comment on that movie."
I enjoyed it, but let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one thing I do want to say. That you know the scene where he goes and meets Marion or whatever, in Tibet. In Tibet, I think.
Yeah,
in the bar. There's a scene from the 1935 She that I think this is where he took it from, of them going into this place, because they went down into this, but they're up in the Arctic, I'm sure that's where he's taken it from.
The whole thing about Temple of Doom with the thuggies, and the scene, with the whole skull, and like he took that right out of Gunga Din, the movie Gunga Din. Like I remember watching it, like even down to the main character, the main bad guy, he looked exactly like the character from Gunga Din. That movie was from the 1938 or something like that. I forget the year, but yeah, he was heavily influenced by that stuff, and that doesn't surprise me, Sean, that he did that. He took that.
That's the one thing that there's nothing for George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. There's nothing original. They've just lifted everything.
But that was the whole point. They didn't want to do an original thing. They wanted to pay tribute to the old movie serials and the pulp novels, and that's who Indiana Jones is. He's a 1930s pulp adventurer, and they never pretended to be doing anything original.
They never have. They never have.
Whatever.
Yeah, I see.
Genre books is
nobody has.
Old. John Steinbeck's first novel is a pirate book.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
I did not know
either.
I'm gonna.
Is it any good?
Yeah, tell us if it's any good.
John Steinbeck wrote a few really excellent books, and I think some of his other ones are just okay.
Well, I read a couple. I read Of Mice and Men in School.
That's one of the best ones.
And that was good. I love that book.
Oh, it's I think that is one of the most perfect novellas ever written.
It really is.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you read The Moon is Down?
I did last year.
I was really interested in that.
Yeah, wait a second. That is the Nazi parallel.
Yeah, it's the one he wrote as propaganda that was dropped into Scandinavia.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really interesting.
Oops, we lost Deb.
No, I'm back.
Oh, you're back again.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Places.
I thought it was a very interesting work of propaganda.
So did I, and it really worked.
It took off wild in the occupied countries because they really
absolutely
got
and
it.
Yet the War Office in the States, who'd asked him to write it, didn't think very much of it, but it really worked.
Yeah. And Captain Blood's a good call, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that is a good call.
There's one I read last year or whatever, and actually that was really good fun too. I think the author was Italian, not like Raphael Sabatini style Italian, but I mean, I wonder if I've got it. It's called The Black Corsair. Anyone read that?
Yeah, that name is just ringing a bell.
Yeah, it does with me, but I don't think I've read it.
It was really good fun. I've got it on my Kindle library somewhere.
Did you do a review of that, Mark?
Emilio Salgari, Black Corsair.
Did you do a review of that book?
Might have done. I don't think it was a corker, like from the thing. What a corker!
No, but like I said, the name is just ringing a bell. And if you did a review of it, it could just be in my brain because of that.
Doesn't that just bring a whole image into your head? The Black Corsair. Just, then you can just. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a series. So I can't see that with the glare there. Emilio. Damn it.
Salgani.
Yeah.
Salgari.
Yeah. But be careful because some of the, better to go for the official translation because unofficial one is like someone has raided Google Translate and it was crap. But yeah, it was good fun. Well, I don't know. Maybe I suggest I don't know how everyone's doing. Maybe we'll stop if you agree, Sean, and we'll just.
I think my wife just came home from pickleball, and I get the
we
cat.
can discuss a little bit quickly what we'll do.
Well, you better chase the guest out of the bed there. Yeah, the wife's home. Hopefully, she's gone by now, Greg.
No, she's gone.
Have you checked? She might have snuck back in. She's under the sheet hiding.
See, the thing is, cats will do that. Cats will do that. They'll crawl underneath.
I don't mind the cats. I just don't want her woman. And like, if I'm going to go sleep, let's just not go there again.
I enjoyed it first time round, though. It was funny.
Yeah. Greg thinks not so much.
What is everybody reading for the nonfiction? Like, I'm getting ahead, but I'm just.
I'm not decided yet.
I got that graphic novel Moonbound, which I'm really.
I might get that one. That sounds like I can get it from the library and read that in an afternoon. So that might be just perfect.
Would The Mountains of the Moon be considered nonfiction? Is that a fiction or nonfiction?
This is a novelization, a novel of history. So.
Historical fiction, yeah.
Historical fiction.
Here's something that's sort of similar, just about David Livingston that I'm going to read next week, I think, as well. It's I don't know how good it's going to be, by Patina Gappa, Out of Darkness, Shining Light, and it's basically about David Livingston's last days.
Yeah. Look at this old book, Sean.
That looks beautiful.
Yeah.
I can't see it very clear. What is it?
The Great Explorer's Life History, 30 Years, Adventures and Discoveries, Dr. David Livingston and the Harold Stanley Expedition. Beautiful old book. Pictures inside and maps and David Livingston, what a story that was. I think it deals with his last days, too.
Yeah, well, the last journals are really good. There's a couple volumes of them,
Mm.
and I've got some of his journals and letters. But yeah, I love David Livingstone. But that book is like the author, or at least the flap is saying that he wasn't a nice person and all this, and it's as if this is some revelation. And the thing is, in his lifetime, he was deconstructed. And he wasn't thought highly of in his own lifetime. So this is nothing new.
Mm.
But I think Debs, you're doing something like female ones, and this is my nonfiction read.
What's that one?
It is Mary Kingsley's Travels in West Africa.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I've got Queen of the Desert by Georgina Helms, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I've got Edith Durham's High Albania, which I think she thought she was going to solve the Balkan problem. But I've read it before and it's brilliant. I read it before I went to Albania. And it's just about this mad Victorian woman wearing tartan, hacking about in the mountains of North Albania among all these tribes. Crazy woman, but it's a really good book. Really good.
I ordered actually, Debs, the Georgina Howes one. I read it years ago in paperback, and bizarrely I found it on a secondhand book site in hardback here in the Czech Republic. So I thought,
Oh, wow.
It's only like £1, so don't know what the condition's going to be, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kim, you showed something. I didn't see it.
Yeah,
It was
hold
some
on.
lovely line drawings inside that book.
Oh, yeah. Look at
Oh,
that.
wow.
Lovely.
Yeah, that's really good.
David Livingstone and H.M. Stanley Livingstone.
Mhm.
And this is from his birth to his burial, David Livingstone.
Mhm.
And there's
Stanley was
awesome
an
ones.
ass.
Hey?
Stanley was an ass.
Yeah. Most people were back then.
Where'd you get it from, Jim? Was it just
More
in
than
some
others.
secondhand bookshop? Or
A secondhand bookstore here in Hamilton. James Street Booksellers. Awesome bookstore. And my wife actually got it for me. I showed interest in it when we were there, and she remembered, and she picked it up for me.
Cool.
Yeah, she's an awesome.
Yeah, during the late 1800s and all the way through, there's dozens and dozens of bios of Livingstone. The first one I read was Elizabeth Huxley's little biography of Livingstone, and she's the one that did Flame Trees of Thika, Red
Oh,
Straight.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And that's what got me hooked on Livingstone and African exploration.
Really
What was her book? Yeah, I read it when I was about 14.
fascinating stuff. Look at
Oh,
there.
those are lovely.
Yeah.
Cool.
is
Yeah.
Mark?
that Aldous Huxley's mum? Oh, yeah, cool. That's really cool. Is that
And
Aldous Huxley's
there's
mum,
an
Sean?
actress
Or
reading Agatha Christie's memoir of Max Mallowan, which is really good. I got to get a copy of that here. I haven't had a copy of that for a long time. I'd like to reread that.
I
Yeah,
hadn't
it is-
heard about that until I think it was on our last live stream. It was mentioned. Sorry, Mark.
no, sorry. That Elizabeth Huxley, was that Aldous's mum or grandma? Or
No, there's
sister?
no relation at all.
No relation. Uh-huh.
No relation at all. Oh, no, there's Elizabeth. It's Elsbeth. Not
Elspeth. Elspeth Huxley.
Yeah. No relation.
I'd like to read
far as
that.
I know.
Andrew's just put up that Come Tell Me How You Live by Agatha Christie.
It's better. Like Max Mallowan wrote his own sort of autobiography. It's good,
Right.
but it's dry as bloody dust.
Huh.
Oh, is it?
About his life with Agatha Christie, or
No, about his archaeology. It just sort of.
Well, I
is
suppose he was an academic rather than an author, wasn't he?
Oh, she's related to him by marriage.
Oh, she is.
Yeah. Her husband,
didn't know.
Gervase Huxley, was a grandson of Thomas Henry Huxley and cousin of Aldous Huxley. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Well, I learned something. I didn't know. That's
So
cool.
there we have it. Cool. So, I guess, I don't know. What do you think? We can discuss our next group read, I guess, off camera.
Fun. We have some really good suggestions. It's just
Yeah.
My only suggestion is I don't want to be burdened with a 700-page novel next month.
Yeah. I agree, actually.
I've got booktube reading to do, booktube prize reading to do as well. So,
see, I don't agree with the whole it's 700 pages because trust me, I've read recently some 200-page books that took forever, and I've read some 800-page books that I read in a week. So
actually, that's very true.
That's true. Yeah.
If the terror's a good enough read,
It's good. No, Mark, it's a good book. It's one of the best modern horror novels, so it's definitely worth picking up.
I hear nothing but good things about it. Yeah, and Dan Simmons apparently is a really good author.
yeah.
Well, whatever the consensus is, I'm happy with. So,
Okay. Well, I guess we're saying goodbye.
I think we're wrapping it up.
Night from everyone.
All right, bye everyone.
All right, everyone. Have a
see
good
ya.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.